Alright, situational irony is an event that occurs directly contradicts the expectations of the audience. It's a plot twist or a surprise ending. So you've got some minor grammar issues in there, and you should listen to John when he says don't use all capitals because we're going for more like professional sounding writing here. You know, this is a proper academic essay, so yeah, avoid all caps. In The Interlopers by Saki is about two men from two different families go out into the woods to go find each other and kill each other. The reason they want to kill each other is because their two families hate each other over the land that the other family wanted. So clearly, I'm sure as you hear me reading this, you can tell that there are some grammar issues. In The Interlopers is an issue. Uh, Two men from two different families go out. Obviously, you would want something like, oops, sorry, not what I meant to do. You would want something like, it's about two men from two different families who go out. Oops, into the woods to go find each other and kill each other. That go is a little unnecessary. The reason they, right, obviously want to kill each other is because their two families is the wrong form of their, so be careful. Hate each other over the land that the other family wanted. This is very unclear, and I feel like you're kind of being torn. Like I've told you that it needs to be a quick summary. You feel like there's more information to give. I would say leave out any information about what the feud is over. All you can say is that these two families are feuding, and the heads of each family encounter each other in the woods, right? And then you can say, let's see what you say after that. Instead, they have a tree fall on them. They become friends, and when they both cooperate to yell for help, they end up attracting wolves instead that end up killing them. So this is your thesis statement. That it's at least part of it that they cooperate and they end up attracting wolves through their cooperation instead of help. So that's a little repetitious. You're not going to want to say that here and in the thesis statement. So I would say unexpectedly, a tree falls on them, and they become friends, right? And then just leave that out. The Interlopers is a good example of situational irony because the reader expects Georg and Ulrich's cooperation to lead to their rescue, but instead it leads to their death. Okay, good thesis statement. Secondly, the situational irony occurs, let's see here. I'm unclear where the firstly came from. It just starts with secondly. So I would just avoid that. You don't really need to number your paragraphs. The situational irony occurs at the end of the story. The situational is when George says, Ulrich von Gradwitz, I will be your friend. The reason that this quote illustrates situational irony is because the reader expected that Ulrich and George would kill each other because they went out to find each other to kill each other. The character decides if they work together that they could find help out of the woods with their cooperation. So I'm confused what exactly you mean here. Also, you're saying that the situational irony is when they become friends, and that our expectation is that they would kill each other. But your thesis statement says something different. Your thesis statement says, if my computer will behave itself, your thesis statement says that it's their cooperation that leads to their death instead of their rescue that's the irony. So you've got two different things going on here, and it needs to your essay needs to be a coherent whole. So yeah, I think you need to change this paragraph to reflect the actual irony of the story, which is that they resolve their differences, they make friends, and just when they decide to cooperate to get out of their life-threatening situation, their cooperation actually leads to their death instead of their survival. So this is situational irony because the reader expected them to kill each other, but they became friends and worked together to try to call for help the other ones. Yeah. So ask me if you have questions about why that's not the irony, but it definitely needs to change. In conclusion, the reason that this quote illustrates situational irony is because the reader expected that Ulrich and George would kill each other because they wanted to find each other to kill each other. So yeah, your conclusion needs to summarize the whole essay, right? Which is the bigger point that you're making here is that this story is an example of situational irony. So that's what your first sentence here needs to say, that this story contains situational irony. The character decides if they work together that they could find help out of the woods with their cooperation. Again, so that feels kind of copied and pasted from something from before. It's got awkward phrasing. I'm not really sure what it means. So this is situational irony because the reader expected them to kill each other, but they became friends and worked together to try to call for help to get out of the woods. Okay. The situational irony reinforces the theme of the story, which is nature is a powerful force and should be respected. If the situational irony had never happened and the men had been rescued, then the reader would not have learned that lesson. Okay, true. Generally speaking, you want to say in your final sentence, what can people learn from reading this story? Right? That's kind of what you need to take from that. And if you want to look at my sample 3-paragraph essay for help on that, feel free, because you can kind of use that as kind of a starter. Yeah, again, so your conclusion here needs to wrap it up. It needs to mention the theme, which it does. All of this in here, you state in several different ways why we have situational irony here. And we only need one way, really. So honestly, what I would do is just delete that. I would change this to reflect the situational irony that we discussed in class. Yeah, and then change your final sentence to reflect what we talked about in terms of just what can people learn from this, from reading about George and Ulrich's tragedy. All right, Nick, if you have any questions about any of the comments I've given you, please make sure that you ask. I'd be happy to explain them to you. Obviously, I did not write down every comment that I had for you, so you're going to need to watch this video maybe once or twice more after this just to make sure that you have everything, because you are expected to fix all the comments that I address. So if you have any other questions, again, call to me. I'd be happy to help you. Thank you so much for your effort on this so far, and I look forward to reading the final copy.